That's great. That was great. My guest today, ladies and gentlemen, my friend
Yes.
Kim, Kim Richmond.
Thank you, Kathy. It's nice to be with you today. It's great.
It's great to have you on. I'm so happy that you're on.
Sure.
Is that
Well, it's great.
one of your wife's masks that you're wearing?
Yeah, that's one. Well, she didn't actually make it; she assembled it. But this is, yeah. So I'm incognito, and it's okay to walk into a bank this way too. So
I know, I know, I know. Kind of
so
odd.
anyway, yeah.
Well, so cool to see you.
So I'm in another climate right now. I'm in the Midwest
Yeah.
and
What's the climate like?
northern Wisconsin. Well, it's in the 70s. It's very comfortable. The only thing is they have tornadoes here, and
Oh,
we didn't have, I don't think, a tornado, but we 2 weeks ago we had a really bad wind. I think they call it a microblast or something like that. It took down about half of our property, which we have, not our house, but up here, but just a lot of the trees and so forth. So it
wow.
missed us by about 100 feet, because
God,
it would have taken a house, really.
wow.
So it was kind of dangerous. But anyway, other than that, it's been nice weather. We've got some rain, but we've got a lot of sunshine today and stuff like that. So I'm on a chain of 28 lakes, and
Uh,
it's a lot of fun. I have a couple of sailboats up here and canoe and stuff like that. So
oh, can I
a lot
come
of fun.
visit?
Yeah, we want everybody come to visit. We could start an
Uh,
epidemic.
hey, okay.
Sure. Yeah, great. But yeah, we figured we wanted to come back here. We come back here every August and enjoy a little vacation, a few weeks. However, this year we decided to come back a little early because uh, my wife Chris, her sister-in-law passed away of breast cancer in
Oh,
April, and so we of course wanted to come back for that, and we couldn't get out. We couldn't travel at that time.
yeah.
It was too dangerous. So we waited until July, and after I'd done some things in LA that I had to do, and then we drove out. We didn't even stay in a hotel or
Oh,
anything. We just drove completely out
oh,
here.
wow.
It was
Wow.
3 days. So it was an adventure. So we got here, I think, a little safer here now, according to what's happening in LA as far as the virus is concerned.
Oh, yeah. And plus, you're around all that nature, and
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, we're
I
st-
am jealous.
we're still wearing masks, but not as crucially.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. How are you?
Um,
You okay and everything?
yeah. I just wanted to tell you, Stan Ayeroff is here, and he
Ah,
sends his best to you and Chris.
oh, great, great, good. Say hello to for me. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I hear from him once in a while. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, everything's good here. You know, I don't see the bad part really because I just don't go out very much. So
Yeah.
if you don't go out very much, you're not really seeing the bad. So, and in the suburbs here, it seems to be pretty good, other than,
Well, just stay healthy.
the
That's all.
craziness of, politics and the homeless and, all that kind of stuff.
Well, one of the reasons I haven't planned to come back soon which I would do regularly, is because there's really no music business right now.
Hmm.
There's no performances and not very little recording I know about, and so that's how I make my living, and I might as well stay here, you know. So because
Yeah.
it's a lot better climate and it's safer, but that's I wish that we could get things going again with the music business and have performances and stuff like all what I used to do. So
Yeah.
rehearsals, we have a lot of rehearsals, and we can't even do
Kim,
that.
Kim, have you gotten into the electronic stuff, like the recording at home on your
Yes,
computer and stuff?
yeah, quite a bit, quite a bit. I'm doing quite a bit of that, and I usually do two jazz camps in the summer that I coordinate, and I did them again this summer, but we did them online with Zoom. And I had to learn that stuff, just like everybody does. So yeah, the faculty, we still have the same faculty, and what I did was do a guide track on some arrangements and then send it out. And each guy did their own part, and then sent it all back to me, and I mixed it like that, and did the video and all this stuff. So yeah, I've had to know a lot about it. And there's a lot I yet need to know.
What were you using? Were you using something like Pro Tools or GarageBand or what?
I use Logic. I
Logic.
use Logic, and then I do the video on Final Cut Pro. I just take the Logic files in the Final Cut Pro. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's my two applications that I use.
that's good. Yeah,
But there's a lot I need to know about it yet. I need lessons.
I know. Well, it's kind of endless, I think, because we find what works and then we
Yeah.
use it. You
Yeah,
know?
it's the new normal. It's the
Yeah.
new normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I made some videos of like I say, of the faculty. And this was kind of interesting because, usually a jazz camp has people so they learn to play together, and they learn to balance and know what they have to play their own part and all that stuff. And everybody has to play a part, and it's a team effort. But you couldn't do that now because of the pandemic. So what we do is make it a solo effort, and each of the campers were asked to play to a track, play a solo melody, study of a melody, and then also some ad lib stuff, improvisation. So we, as a faculty, provided the tracks. So we did, I think, 11 tunes with background tracks. A lot of them are standards,
Yeah.
and then we send them to them, the tracks, and then they practice with them, and when it comes to their time to play, instead of playing together, they play to those tracks.
Yeah.
So it worked. It worked okay.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. It be what it be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was the attendance?
About normal, actually. Actually, the Northwoods camp, which was in May, we had more people than we'd ever had. We had 39 people. We usually keep it around 26, something like that. And but you could have anybody from anywhere. There was 2 people from New York City, and there was people from here in Wisconsin and Minnesota, somebody from Texas and LA people and stuff like that. So, you can have them from anywhere. So there's no overhead like travel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the one in Santa Barbara one is usually built around LA or Santa Barbara, and that we had a lot of people from the Midwest on that too. So it was, it makes it, there are advantages to it on the side. So
Yeah. That's great. How long have you been doing those camps?
we did the Northwoods camp about 20 years now.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but this was the 4th annual Santa Barbara Jazz Workshop.
Cool.
Yeah. And I do that with Kimberly Ford.
Yeah.
And she handles all the vocal things and so forth like that.
Yeah. She's a great
Kinda
singer.
fun.
Yeah. That's cool. Hey, Kim, where did you grow? You didn't grow up in Wisconsin. Where did you grow up in?
Well, close by, Illinois. Grew up in Illinois. And
Yeah.
I'm from Champaign, Illinois.
Yeah.
That's where the University of Illinois is. And so I grew up in that university town. I went to school there, music school. After that, I was going to get drafted, and it was a Vietnam War, and I didn't want to go to Vietnam, so I auditioned for the service bands in Washington, D.C., and I ended up in the Air Force Band right there in D.C. On the Airmen of Note, which is the jazz band.
Oh,
Yeah. So I did that for 4
the same
years.
one. That wasn't the same one Bobby Shue was in, right?
No, he was in the NORAD band, and I met
Oh,
Bobby at that time, and we got to be friends. And he was on the NORAD band, which was stationed in Colorado Springs, I think. And that was a mixture of all of the services plus the Canadian Air Force.
Oh,
So I don't know which one he was in, but yeah, he was on that band. He was very thin.
I remember when he was very thin.
Is that right? Yeah, bless his heart. Great player, wonderful player.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, I learned in subsequent years that his playing, something went wrong. I don't remember what, I can't describe it, but he had to learn to play all over again. And he did. Did you know that?
No, I don't think he was on a few weeks ago, and he didn't talk about that particular thing.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't usually talk about that, but because it was a big learning process from the beginning, he didn't think he'd ever play again. For
Yeah.
something happened to his chops. I don't know what it was, or his neck, or something in here, and he had to learn to play all over again. I have to give him credit. He did a good job.
Wow.
Hmm.
Pretty intense. Yeah. I was just talking to Dina DeRose yesterday, and she literally didn't play piano for 2 years
Is
at
that
a
right?
at a crucial moment because she actually had arthritis, but it was diagnosed incorrectly as tunnel
Yeah.
syndrome.
Yeah.
She had an operation, and it totally like, I mean, she said her hand was half the size of the other hand because there was
Wow.
no muscle at
Oh.
all. And that was when she started singing too.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then she came back from it, you know.
Hmm.
Amazing.
Wow.
People go through a lot of stuff.
You do. Yeah. And we
Yeah.
meet all kinds of things especially when we do these camps and workshops like that.
Hmm.
People that are dealing with a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I actually started doing the workshops for somebody else. I didn't do my own Northwoods in Santa Barbara for many years, but I started doing it because I liked to play with the faculty. I mean, that was my thing. I wasn't so interested in teaching. I was interested in playing with these guys that were in the faculty. But I've become interested in teaching, and I enjoy it because I see the passion in the young people that they really want to do that thing. And that's what I had. I tell people if you don't have the passion for it, then don't go into music. Just do it as a hobby, maybe. But so we're often have a lot of hobbyists in those things, but we have a few people come along. It's really rewarding to see the passion that they have for learning music and getting into it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I had one guy that was from Minneapolis. He grew up in Milwaukee, but he was in Minneapolis. He was underage, so he couldn't come to the Northwoods camp because it was all adults. You had to be 21, but he stayed with a grandmother here in town, in the town that the camp is in. And he came over every day, and he studied, saxophone player, and he would bug me every day. He says, "Can I get a private lesson?" I said, sure. So I gave him private lessons in the lunch hour or afterwards or whatever, and he just was after it. He soaked everything up, and he's now a professional musician on the road with some different bands and stuff like that. So, I mean, he had that
Wow.
passion I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm sure you meet some singers that have the passion for what they want to do.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's all kinds, you know, some show up, they just want it as a hobby or some,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a beginner now who's really, it's a joy to teach her. She's in her 20s. She's a Chinese American, and she's sung Chinese music and pop music, but she really, for some reason, discovered jazz, and she's a real beginner, like, you know, but she's good.
Yeah.
So in these things that I lead her to, she has these
Right.
big realizations, and she's really excited. She's really
Yeah.
turned on. It's
Mhm.
wonderful to see that, you know.
That's great. That's great. It makes it all worthwhile.
It does, it does. And a lot of times you just don't get somebody like that who's extremely excited and turned on and really gets, like, when you lead them somewhere, they work through whatever it is they have to work through, and then they feel it.
Yeah.
You know, and you observe all that. It's really, that's the nice thing about teaching.
Yeah, right. And well, I've, as you have, I'm sure, observed that you can't really, I can't really teach somebody to play the flute, the saxophone, or the clarinet. I can't really make them play it.
Yeah.
I can lead them down the path to learning how to do it themselves. And I'm sure it's the same with you. You can't sing for them. You can't make them sing, but you can lead them down a path and maybe make a few corrections along the way so that they will discover things for themselves. Do you find that's the case?
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you know, after what, you know, I mean, you can't make them practice and get better.
That's right.
I've had various students, you know, who have different abilities. I remember one woman, she was a manager at a bank. She never practiced, but somehow magically, every time she showed up, she was better.
Oh,
Like, how do you get better? You're not even practicing.
yeah.
It's like,
Did
I
she have
don't
any
know.
explanation?
Nope,
Huh?
she didn't. She didn't know either.
Yeah.
I guess she just had a doorway inside that opened up, you know, and put her perspective correctly, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's students are. are varied, and they're very interesting, some of them. I had one guy that studied saxophone. He wanted to study saxophone. He was an adult, a young adult, and uh, he was a good player already. I mean, he
Yeah.
played tenor, and he played good ideas. He was coherent and he had good time and everything. And I said, well, why would you want to study? You know, he said, well, I never know where I am in the tune. I never know when I'm at the chorus or what. I have no idea. I'm just playing by ear, you know. I said, okay, well, we'll start to do some things. Well, for one thing, he'd keep forgetting his check. He's going to pay for it. But that went on for about 3 weeks, and then I said, I'm not going to do any more with you if you don't pay me. Oh, he started to do that, which was fine. But I said, okay, we're going to have to start at the beginning. You're going to have to learn, you know, and I won't go through all that, but he didn't want to do that. He said, well, but I'm already playing. I said, well, that's why I don't know why you want to study, because if you want to learn what you don't know, you have to start at the beginning with it. And so he lasted a couple more lessons, and then I never heard from him again. I hope he's out there playing, because he was a really good player. You know.
Yeah, there are those people too. I remember one girl I had, she had some physical problem, health problem. And so she lived at home with her mother. She was a young adult, and she came over. She was actually quite a good singer. She had a very big vibrato, but it was very natural. You know, because sometimes you hear people really doing vibrato for the wrong reason. You know,
Yeah,
it's
right,
probably
sure.
similar to sax.
Yeah.
You know, it's like too much, or maybe it's a laziness of the embouchure, or the, you know, of the vocal cords. But in her case, it was a beautiful. I didn't mess with it, you know, and but I was also, as she was going through the technique, I would say, okay, so let's try and get a straight tone. Well, yeah, that was like a little problem. And then I wanted her to, oh, yeah, the thing that drove her off was, it was weird. So she was singing jazz. She wanted to sing jazz. So I was leading her towards a, you know, more creative, loose interpretation. She got so pissed off at me for that.
Oh,
And
why?
she actually stopped lessons.
Oh my gosh.
She didn't want to do that. And I said, well, you don't have to perform like that, but it will enhance what you do, you know, to
Yeah.
be able to, you know, phrase. And she left.
Oh,
Isn't it really interesting?
yeah. The first camp we did up here in the North Woods, Clay Jenkins was my partner in doing that, and Clay's been my musical partner in many instances. And so he was in charge of the trumpet section, because he's a trumpet player.
Yeah.
And at the noon hour, after the first half a day, one of the students, an older guy, used to be a doctor, and he was from Spokane, Washington. And he came to me and he says, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, sure. He says, well, now, Clay's a wonderful player and a wonderful guy and so forth, but he's trying to get me to learn to play all the things you are. He says, I don't know all the things you are. You know, he says, now I have a list of tunes, and here's the tunes I know, and that's it. You know, I said, well, you can learn other tunes. That's a good tune he wants you to learn. He says, I haven't got time. I'm in my 80s now. I said, you still have time. But it was so funny looking back on it. I felt sorry for him, but he stayed around. He kept coming for many years, so that was good.
That's so interesting. Yeah, you know, the other fascinating thing I think is when you're a teacher and you can basically be an empath and tap into somebody's perspective, you know, by what they're exhibiting, right? And that is such a fascinating aspect of teaching, you know.
Yeah,
Kind of delicious, you know,
sure.
and you know, how you end up almost being a therapist for people, you know, because
Yeah.
but you know, because of that, you're tapping into their perspective, and you have to, you know, a lot of this is philosophical or a point of view, right? Not
Sure.
just technical.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, teaching is a really fascinating thing. I like it.
Listen, I'd like to play something for you that we
Okay.
did just this year. And this is one of the faculties of these two camps. It was the Northwoods Jazz Camp faculty.
Yeah.
And we did a just so that, because there's an hour in each of these, hour class in each of these camps where we play for the students, and then they ask questions. What were you thinking about, or how did you do that, or what happened there, and so forth. And I always ask them to just speak up about something that happened or something that you observed. Doesn't matter if it's the same as the next person, but just something like that. So this was one of those instances, and we did the tune Doxy. And you'll see you guys.
Can you hold on one moment? And
Sure.
Someone's at my door, but you can tell.
I'll go find it.
Okay.
I have to go find it, and I'll talk in the meantime. If you want.
Please do.
Yeah. Okay. So here's Doxy. I think I got it up here. Okay. We will be able to share the screen in a second here.
That was just my husband, actually. He was testing the doorbell.
Oh, okay. You wouldn't let him in, did?
No. And okay, here's Paul Yanamura says, "Hi, Kim." He said, "It's been a long time. Rick Helzer and John Laufenberger say hello."
Oh my gosh, that's
And
great.
Paul Yanamura, I really would like to get in touch with Rick Helzer. So
We all would. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know where he is. I'm really happy that you said that.
me too. I miss him, and it was just his birthday, actually. Mike Steffen says hi.
Yeah, great.
And Mike Campbell says, "Kim Richmond, great to see you, my old friend, sending much love and respect. Always love to your beautiful and incredibly talented wife."
Oh, that's great. Well, and I always admired his singing too, and his daughter is a really great. She's great.
Both daughters are like amazing.
Well, I didn't know he had two of them.
Yes, his other daughter is an amazing talent also.
Okay.
Miho Kiddo, hi Miho, and Otmar Ruiz, very faulty internet connection here today, but I wanted to say hello to both of you. Kim, a true master.
Yeah. Well, I would have a faulty internet connection at my cabin, but I'm down here at this resort when they have a cable, so I can be assured I won't fall offline and hurt myself.
Okay, so you're sharing now?
Yeah, I'm going to share. This is Tune Doxy, and you'll see who the participants are as they come on here. So here we go. Let's see. Share. Right here.
1, 2, 3.
bass. That's Tom Hines on the guitar. Sorry about that. Well, I got it all mixed up. This was the first one I tried to do, and I think some things have gone wrong with the copy, so I'll correct it one of these days. But
That
no,
sounds great, though.
yeah, it's pretty good. And you kind of lose the groove sometimes because when the guys are playing, they don't know who else they're playing with. You know, I mean, they hear a guide track that I made, but that's all going to be replaced, and they're all doing it at the same time. So you don't know whether the comping of the piano is going to be like that or the bass is going to be different or whatever. So even the drums, you know. So
Yeah.
it's kind of different.
Yeah, it sounded like there was a little time thing, right?
Yeah.
That the drums got off with the bass, or
Right. During the guitar solo, yeah, there was something
yeah,
like
yeah. Interesting.
And as we all know, Zoom, you can't really play
Right.
coordinate because you can tell by our lip syncs that it's just it's a latency that occurs there. And so we haven't found a way yet around that, but I'm sure somebody will soon.
Well, there is something called Jack Trip.
That's it. That's what I heard too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have a cable connection though to do that. Is that right?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I haven't investigated it enough, but Jam Kazam, I know you do. You need a cable connection.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, so Jam Kazam, I just saw something Kendra Shank did did she do it with a bass player or I think it was anyway, it was kind of a slow swing.
Mhm.
And I thought it was really good. I didn't really see any latency, you
Yeah.
know. So
Oh, that's great.
that's
Well,
something to investigate too. But the Jack Trip, a lot of people have been using. There's I forget his name, but he's in Orange County actually, right? He's at a university, and he kind of has a bunch of information. Oh, Pollyanna Morris said Rick is retired, living in Fresno,
Fresno. Okay. Well, I
and
hope
John
he's
is
okay.
living in Visalia.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
That's good to
good.
know. I'd like to be in
Yeah.
touch with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And by the way, Miho Kiddo is she was in your Santa Barbara Jazz Band.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to ask you who that was. You were talking.
Yeah.
Was that who you were talking about before?
Yes,
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's very passionate about her. what
she's
she
very
wanted.
passionate. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Let me play you one more thing, and then we can talk some more if you don't mind. This is something I actually am not pictured in this one, but I was playing. This is on Perdido, and this was our finale, and involved. The reason I want to play it is because it's almost all singing, and we start out with the group singing, but in our faculty we had four singers. You know, besides Kimberly Ford, we had Dave Tull, who sings very well, plays drums.
Very well.
Scott Whitfield on trombone, sings very well.
Very well.
And Jonathan Dane on the trumpet.
Oh, wow.
And he sings great too. So, and they're all very different. And usually we have John Prube on the piano, and he sings too. He couldn't make it this year. But this, I did the arrangement on Perdido. And what we did in the last part, I left 5 choruses. These are short choruses. 5 choruses open. So we just have rhythm section. And we actually played live on them. And so let's see if I'm going to play I can't remember whether I'm going to play the one that is live from Zoom or not, but you will hear a lull there. So
Okay.
I mean, it'll be just rhythm section. So, but what we did was actually we did play live, and the latency was there, but we tried to see how we can get around it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we didn't really, but
Yeah.
if everybody plays a half a bar late, they were fine.
I know.
So let me see if I can find that first of all. So
Okay.
talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
Yeah, well, my group Fish to Birds, which is like the
Yeah.
7-piece improv vocal group,
Uh-huh.
we, I mean, obviously we can do long notes and that kind of thing on Zoom together, but anything rhythmic it's an experiment.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's great. Well, on one of this first camp that we did, this what I'm going to play is from the Santa Barbara camp, but for the Northwoods camp, we actually did a free tune at the beginning of every session.
Oh, cool.
And that works because
Yeah, because it's free.
it's free.
Yeah.
It's kind of cheating, but Okay, I've got this one up, and I hope there's no glitches in this one.
By the way, Dave Tull says hi.
Oh, great. Well, you'll hear him singing a great solo in this and playing a great drum solo as well. So here we go.
Perdido, I look for my heart is perdido. I lost it way down in Torino while dancing a dance fiesta. He glanced as I danced the bolero. He said, taking off his sombrero, let's meet for a sweet fiesta. I'm sure that I was the sun when we came close, but low was the moon when we said adios. Perdido, for then has my heart been perdido. I know I must go to Torino, that yearning to lose Perdido.
Piano track's supposed to be in here, but it isn't. What a show off, huh? Scott Whitfield. That's Dave Tull.
Excellent.
Today
Yeah.
Now we have the 5 choruses, don't have a solo, so I'm going to skip to the end.
Chris sounds great. So solid.
This was the last one we did, and you can tell the groove is much better than that first one. Kind of separated.
But did you say this was live? Done live? I mean,
No,
and
all overdubs. It's all overdubs.
Oh, okay.
And on that first choral thing, Dave Tull was in on it. He just didn't get his picture in. It's Chris Seimer. He's from Seattle. I don't know if you know him. He's great.
Oh, that's great, Kim.
So little credits afterwards. There we go.
Yeah. That's
So anyway, that was
great.
fun. Yeah, but it's fun to do, and it came out pretty good. I mean, there's glitches in all of it. So I'm learning. You know, you said you have to get into the technical thing. You do, and
Yeah.
so that's what I'm learning to do. And hopefully not at the expense of my musical ability. I'm practicing every day, but still, it's something. It's a new normal. I tell you,
Yeah. Yeah.
got to do it. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's changing, and it's going to change quick, and it's going to get stronger. You can kind of see what you need to take care of, and this is definitely an area where you need to learn.
Yeah. You know,
If you-
we had a
if you-
young guy coming in and playing, doing piano because I wanted to have. I couldn't use John Prue. He was not available, so I called Matt
Politano.
Politano. Thank you. I called Matt Politano. He's a good piano player and good trumpet player. I knew him as a trumpet player originally. But anyway, and he said he'd like to do it, but he didn't have the equipment for it. But he tried for about a week and a half to try to figure it out how to do, and he just had no knowledge or really desire. You know, I don't blame him for wanting to get into something new like that. He didn't have many microphones. He didn't have any way of recording it in programs and so forth. So at the last minute, Bill Cunliffe came in and kind of saved us on that. But I wanted to have a young guy who wasn't working, you know, who didn't have a school job and needed the money and so forth. So that I could help that out, but it didn't work out. So, but Bill did a great job, and I'm sorry I didn't have his piano track on that last one. So anyway, there's always something.
I was just noticing through the first part of it that you played, the bass was a little louder. Now, is that my computer or is that the way you
It's
set
my
it
my
up?
fault. My fault. Yeah, I think so. I think I just mixed it not evenly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I thought you might have done that also for something to lock into for everybody, like
Oh yeah.
when they heard it, which is good.
hmm Yeah. Well, it's an idea. Yeah. But no, I'm really learning on this stuff, and there's a lot of mistakes that I've made. But you learn how to solve them when you have them.
Yeah,
So that's
I
the way to
know.
learn. Yeah.
I know.
And
Yeah, that's an important aspect of life, isn't it?
yeah, that's true.
You
That's
just
true.
have to start walking, and then if you fall, you pick yourself up.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
figure
that's
out
right.
how to pick yourself up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've
Well, I missed LA and I miss the scene there. I do a lot of rehearsals at the Union and stuff like that, and meet a lot of young players. They're good, and I'm very thrilled with the fact that they're all there and progressing. 10 years ago, or maybe I guess 20 years ago, I'd say the I was worried. I was worried about the LA scene because we didn't have any people coming in that were really trying to play that much and learn and you know uh, innovate, I should say. And then about 2000, somewhere in there, a whole bunch of people started coming in, kids,
Mhm.
from
Yeah,
schools, and I was so relieved. I said, "Oh, this is great." I mean, it was harder for me to, to compete, but still, it was good. It was really inspiring that I had a lot of these kids come in and some of them could really play great, and just
I know. I saw that too. And of course, you see it at the Blue Whale a lot.
yeah, exactly. That's the
Yeah, it's stunning, actually. I mean, yeah, the new blood
mhm.
they're pretty stunning people.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it's great.
So it
Um,
was a good thing.
yeah, and let's see. Let's talk about your big band, because that has had, I'm sure, it's probably almost as old as you are,
Yeah.
uh,
There you go.
and and has gone through probably lots of different changes, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I have come to, I started a big band just to try my writing out and just workshop kind of thing
Yeah.
way back in the 70s. And Alf Clausen and I had the band together, and he used to alternate tunes and something like that.
Oh,
But I have kind of come to about 10 years ago, I guess, the realization that what I really love is orchestral music. So I make my big band as orchestral as I can, and through approaches of a like a classical ensemble. And I have French horns section in it. I have percussion section and tuba and like that, plus the regular standard big band with all the woodwind doubles. I have double reeds in there. I have oboe, English horn, and bassoon, as well as clarinet and flute. And so I try to take advantages of that and use as many of those different colors on my palette as I can, because not just to use them, but just as a way of expression. So that's the big change I've had in it. It's more symphonic and less big bandish. I'm so I shouldn't say tired of the big band, but the cliche big band I could do
yeah,
without.
me too.
Yeah, but it seems to be this is something a little bit different, and I was inspired, as my last album will attest to, by Stan Kenton and what he innovated in his day. And I was with the Kenton band in the '60s for a short time, and I got to play firsthand some of his music, and it was really an inspiration to me. Completely different from anybody else at that time. But
How
I
so?
go,
How
yeah.
so was Stan Kenton different?
Well, it was same thing with him. He made more of a concert and symphonic uh, approach to everything, and it wasn't. It didn't have a lot of the cliches, and there'd be some cliches now, maybe what he did, but he had a lot of writers that would write different things for him. Pete Rugolo, Johnny Richards, Bill Holman, and Lenny Niehaus. A lot of different people, and yeah, that was it. It made it different at the time, and Dee Barton did a whole album. I was on the album that he did, and for Stan, and so it was a different thing from the main big band. You know, I go to some of these festivals like Ken Poston's festival that he has twice a year. He's been having it. I guess he didn't have it this spring, but the what do you call it? L.A.
Oh yeah.
Jazz Institute. That's it.
Right.
And I applaud him for doing that. And I was at one of them, and somebody came up to me in the audience, an older guy, and he says, "I don't like that band that's playing now. Do you like that?" I said, well, yeah. He says, "Well, they're not playing one thing I know." Well, yeah. You know, in other words, in his definition, and this goes for a lot of people, it's not just him. If they don't recognize it and they don't know how it goes already, they don't like it. So their mind is not open to change.
Yeah,
I find that regrettable, you know, because that's one of the things I try to do as a creative musician. I try to be, have my ears open for something new and sometimes emulate it, you know, try to take it into my vocabulary, try to take it into what I do. And I know there are guys that do very well at what they do, but they stay with it the whole life, you know.
Yeah.
They're not evolving musicians. And the people that I admire most, and by the way, I admire some of those people very much, but people I admire most are people who have evolved. Miles Davis did that. He evolved in music. John Coltrane did that.
Right.
You know, and there's quite a few guys, but not as many. But I always respect that you can't just stay with the same thing, even if you haven't finished with it. You know, you have to keep being influenced by what you hear, by what you like, and that makes up your style. It makes up what you do.
Right. Yeah, I always like your band, and I too. It's not that I love a regular big band that's great, you know, but I much prefer listening to somebody like you or Bill Holman, or you know, somebody that is bringing different qualities into the big band format, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
It's pretty
That's
much
good.
Dave Tull says the cliche big band, great name for a throwback band.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the kids, you know, they don't know about the different styles. They haven't seen a lot of different things. So what they want to do is they want to come in, they want to have just a good old big band, you know, cliche big band. I don't care what it is, just big band.
They want
So
to experience that, right?
Yeah, they want to experience it. Well, it's fine. It's great, you know. And I think that's great too. I enjoy that once in a while. But what my process was, if anybody's interested, is to every year I do one arrangement. I didn't do this anymore, but when I was growing up more, every year I would do an arrangement that I tried to emulate another composer that I knew, famous one, you know.
Cool.
Somebody like Bill Holman or somebody like Oliver Nelson or Thad Jones or like that. I probably wouldn't do as good as they did, but I got into that style so that because I like those things. And that became an element of my own style, mixed with all the others. So I think that's what makes up a style, is what you've taken in and emulated from other people.
Yeah. Hey, let's listen to a big band thing that you like. I'm going to go to YouTube.
Okay.
And you tell me. Let's share my screen. And let's see. Here we are. So Kim Richmond. And
By the way, my wife does all my album covers. She's an artist.
Oh, yeah.
She does the painting. She doesn't do the design, but she does the painting, and they use it for the album covers.
Like look at this one.
The ADT yard sign
That's
stands
ADT.
watch.
Hold on. She didn't do that one.
No.
Skip ads. She did that one. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, she did that one. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Always like that. Yeah. Came out a little darker than we wanted it, but it was great.
She's a great painter. Okay, so
Let's see, something from artistry or fractions is good. What's that? That's top tracks. Oh, the first one on that where it says "Play All Now" is.
This one right here?
Yeah, well, no, the one. Yeah, that's the one. But the first selection on there, doesn't it have a title? Continued Obscurity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my motto, continued obscurity. So that would be
Okay.
a good one to play.
All right. Is this it?
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it's even catchy. Sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I always call that my theme song, Continued Obscurity. It's holding true so far. Anyway,
That's really nice.
my claim to fame is I'm still here.
I'm still here.
Yeah. Now
Uh,
that was an example of something where I heard something that I hadn't heard much of before, and I copied the concept of it because thought it was just such a great sound. And that was I was in the orchestra in a movie Lalo Schifrin had scored, and it started off, the main title started off with all fifths, and that's what that was. That was parallel fifths. Parallel fifths are something in classical music you shouldn't do. That's a rule, you know. So this was just breaking the rule all over the place. And so what he did was, it was a scene on the moon with spacesuits and so forth, coming from a distance, and finally the camera would draw back, and it was actually in a crater in Hawaii, is what it ended up to be, you know. So it went from something mysterious to not so mysterious. Anyway, I said, wow, what a great idea with those parallel fifths and with a pedal point and so forth. So I went home and developed the idea. I didn't copy him, I couldn't remember, but it was just something that I absorbed, and turned out to pretty good. I was enjoying it, you know. I did a different kind of intro, but I did all the like a big concert intro on it. But the main part of it was French horns in fifths. So that's
Corey Allen said, great charts and playing. And Tim Weston says, who is playing on this recording? That's a lot of people.
Yeah, Glenn Berger was the tenor soloist, one of my favorites, and he's plays first tenor in my band when I can get him. And Ralph Razzie is on drums, had him there forever. Trying to think who else is playing. Rick Culver was playing in the band a long time. First trombone, now it's Scott Whitfield, and anyways, a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah.
and girls too. I have Stephanie O'Keefe on one of the French horn players.
Yeah, she's really good. I was curious, where do you do most of your recording for a band like this size?
Well, I did the last one, which was Artistry at Capitol Records, because I wanted to do it there in Studio A, because that's where Stan Kenton had done most of his recordings, and where I worked with Stan too in that one. And so that was at Capitol A. Let's see, where was the other? They've all been in different places, to tell you the truth, but it has to be a big studio, obviously, to take the band. You know, it's 23 pieces. Yeah.
And who well, obviously probably the engineer that comes with the studio, or do you choose your own engineer that you like? And
I always bring in an engineer. Yeah, Rich Breen is my engineer for big bands.
Okay.
He's great. Yeah, and Tally Sherwood, I work with him a lot with small groups especially. He can do big bands. He can do anything. He's got a great studio too.
I know he's got a great ear, and I mean, he played trombone. Come on.
Oh, I didn't know what he played.
Yeah, he had played trombone.
Great.
Yeah. And mastering?
Well, Tally mastered my last CD. I forget. I think that the engineer usually does that. In my instance, I know people go to different places, and I have had in the past some of my CDs mastered by somebody outside of the engineer, but for these last couple, I think I did with the engineer was the studio engineer.
Yeah. Cool. I know you do arranging for singers too. You've done a lot of arranging for singers.
Yeah.
What are some of the projects that have been significant for you? Well, I mean, there's of course the one. I mean, that's not exactly what I was talking about, but the one with Kim about Joni Mitchell. That's pretty outstanding. Whew.
Well, yeah, it's called the Kim Project, named after both of us, and it is a 6-piece band, and it's the music of Herbie Hancock and Joni Mitchell. Kimberly is a big, very knowledgeable about Joni Mitchell's and her music, and I'm fairly knowledgeable about Herbie's music. So we combine the two all in one tune. Sometimes we do both tunes together, you know. So that seems to work.
I saw it live at the Blue Whale. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And we played it at a club that you were booking also.
Right. I don't think I was there.
Were you
I-
not there that night?
Right.
Oh,
I was out of
absentee.
town or something. Yeah.
Well, we did great. In that case, we were great.
I know you were.
But yeah, and then I've been musical director for Sylvia Brooks for quite a few years, about 5 or 6 years, and Tom Garvin was her musical director and played piano. And then when he passed away, I started to work with her. So that's been quite taken up a lot of my energy and so forth. And not in the past year or so, but before that. And I did a complete album for her with mostly samples. You know, I did it electronically, but then we brought in lead players in each section that overdubbed on top of that to make it sound real. And it was an orchestral type of thing with strings and all that. So I was kind of happy with that. She wasn't too happy with it because it didn't sell very much, but I was all right with it. So, and then other singers, Ann Jillian, I conducted for her for a while. Remember her?
No, I don't think so.
No, okay. She worked with Mickey Rooney for a long, and that's how she kind of got famous. And they worked at the Pantages sort of thing, and then she went on her own and had some pretty good hits and so forth. But that was back years ago. And I met her a long time ago as she was a backup singer for Johnny Ray.
Wow.
Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we had to be a certain age to know who Johnny Ray was. Johnny, I was conducting for him and arranging for him, and he couldn't hear out of one ear. He didn't hear too well out of the other one either. But he was a pretty good singer, speaking of that, but he wanted to have certain things in the background so that he could stay on pitch and stay on time. And he didn't have any use for rhythm section or woodwinds. It had to be all brass. So I had to write brass for him everywhere. And we did have saxophones in some of his stuff, but it just, I had to keep him on track with brass fills all the time so he could hear.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then let's see, names. The gal from Australia.
Older or younger?
Older now.
Like
We're all older now.
Sandy White or?
No, a singer, a woman. I'll
Helen
think of it in a
Reddy?
minute. I
Helen
shouldn't
Reddy?
forget. Helen Reddy, yeah. I conducted for her for a while. And I did a show for her, changed her Vegas act and stuff like that. So that was kind of fun. I went on the road with her for a while. So she was a good singer. Enjoyed her. These are all nice people that I got to work with. So,
Yeah. Did you have any dealings with Don Ellis?
No, well, very briefly. And this is a story again about myself that I don't tell too many people, but
Now everybody's going to know.
Everybody's going to know. Well, they might as well. What the heck? I auditioned for Don Ellis's big band, and it was in a rehearsal of the junior big band. I don't know what he called it, but it was younger guys. And so I was there. He said, "Come on in and audition." I'm looking for. So I did. I sat there for the whole rehearsal, didn't do anything, and I said, "I thought you wanted me to audition." He said, "Oh yeah, I forgot about it." Here he says, "We're going to do one more tune." He just read my book, a trumpet book. So he had solos and everything. It was all in the odd meters. I'm not good at odd meters. So I played it the best I could, but I know I didn't do a very good job. He said, "All right, we'll call you." Goodbye. And that was it. So that was my experience with Don Ellis. And I never was a big fan of the odd time signature pieces, and I'm not good at it. I think it's worthy of everything, but it's just not my cup of tea.
One of my favorite gigs that I will always remember was at the Gate. Remember the Gate in Encino that I used to book? And with you and John Fumo and Brad Dutz. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved that gig. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
That was fun. Yeah. Well, Brad is a really, he's a singular person to say the least.
He
He's
definitely,
very inventive. Yeah. Very
yeah.
inventive. And he's a master of all percussion. And he just comes up with the wildest stuff, you know. And I've been on almost all of his albums that he's done, at least for a while there. And it's about 6 albums. And he does them all in his living room, you know, and that's his studio. And he
Yeah.
has all of his instruments there, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to play with Brad, and you have to really stretch to do it. You know, a lot of it's free.
do.
It's all free. He'll write some impossible things to play on the
Yeah.
page, and then it'll go, and then there'll be a bar of freedom for like 10 minutes. You know, you don't
Yeah.
have anything to go on, so you just use your ear. That's kind of fun.
I've seen a lot of his shows at the Sun Space, you know.
Yeah,
And
he's booking that.
yeah, and it's really so interesting. He was on this, and it was really fun to talk to him for 2 hours. He was crazy, but yeah, that gig, it was sax, trumpet, percussion, and voice.
Oh yeah.
That was fun. Let's do that again
Did you sing? You sang it?
with you.
Yeah, but I mean, you were on Sun Space with him.
No, I'm talking about with you.
Oh,
So
okay.
at the gate, it was you,
The gate, yes.
John Fumo on trumpet,
Right. Sure.
and Brad on
Right.
percussion, and me on
Yeah.
voice.
That's great.
And
Yeah,
I
we
loved it.
had a trio without you, and then it was
Yeah.
great to add you to it. So beautiful.
Yeah, but I mean, I have a group with Brad with called The Moment with Gary Fukushima and Chuck
That's right.
Manning and Jeff Richmond,
Sure.
and yeah, we've done a bunch of stuff, and I've played at the Sun Space. I was thinking of playing there again, like now, but it's really small.
Yeah, it is. And one of the things that I like about it, which it has nothing to do with the music in a way, is that they do projection. Do
I know, that's
images
cool,
on
isn't
the
it?
screen. Yeah. And I don't know whether it's overhead or back screen projection, but I've been doing that with Kim Project, and
Oh.
have things that show Joni Mitchell and Herbie Hancock when they work together, and then other tunes that have scenes in the background. And I think that's the way it's going these days. They kind of
Yeah.
have a visual aspect
There's
to
that
it.
guy. I always forget his name. He's got a kind of an unusual name. He does like for Josh Nelson, people like that at the Blue Wave.
Yeah, yeah. I used him on the first time I did that. You know.
Mm.
I can't remember names either.
Yeah, he has an unusual name too. Travis? No, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
something like that. Something like that. Yeah.
John Prude just joined and he says hi.
Ah, good, John. Good to
Hi,
hear from
John.
you. Yeah.
Let's see. Have you in your career, have you been like a road player as well, like on the road with different groups?
Not really. My history with that is very brief. Stan Kenton was the only band that I actually went on the road with for any length of time. That was for 9 weeks. And when I got out of the service, I was in an Airman or Note in D.C. And I got out of that. I came to L.A. and what everybody told me is just don't go on the road, stay in town so you get known and start working in town. So I said, okay, I will. So I got called by Woody Herman's band. So I turned it down, you know, because I wanted to stay in town. I got called by Harry James' band. I turned it down. And it was a couple of good opportunities, and it wouldn't have had to last that long. But anyway, I thought, well, I'll stick to it. Well, I was running out of money by the end of this season, you know. So I was working with a singer, as a comedian, with a comedian. I was playing piano. I'm not a piano player. I was playing terrible piano, and he was a bass player, the comedian, and the drummer. And when he'd do his act, he'd stop playing bass, and so he didn't have a bass. And I was trying to carry it all. It was just, I did about 2 weeks with him, and then I got a call to go out with Stan Kenton, and I said, "I'll take it." Yeah, and I didn't make much money. I was taking a draw for like 7 out of the 9 weeks, you know, just to get by. But it was hit and runs, all hit and runs. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, you sleep every other night, you know, sleep on the bus. And so you check into a hotel every other night. That was hard. It was a hard road, but it was probably one of the most famous things I've done. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to ask about it. And I like the music very much, but the road itself, not crazy about. Now I've been doing the road with what amounts to the Kenton alumni band that Mike Vax does. He does 1 or 2 tours a year, and that's for a couple of weeks, so that's palatable. And,
Yeah.
so Kenton Legacy Orchestra, he calls it. So we've been doing that. That's okay.
Yeah. Have,
But
have
other
you,
than that, I don't do the road.
do you travel with your own group? You've been to Japan, right?
I have. Mhm.
Yeah.
I was there with
Oh
Percy Faith for
God, I
four or five
remember.
times. Yeah, Percy
Yeah,
Faith.
yeah. Hmm.
And so it was. That was fun, to do that and get out and do that kind of thing. I know you go to Japan a lot, so that's great.
Yeah, I do. I was supposed to go during this season, but
Mhm.
obviously
Right,
not there. But
right.
it's okay.
Mhm.
I'm sure at some point.
Yeah, and I was there with Ray Anthony on a tour, and gosh, I don't know who else. But yeah, I've done some things there. And Australia, I've gone to Australia for some things.
Yeah,
But uh, most of those are like concert tours. They're not like nightclub kind of things
yeah,
or dances or anything like that.
yeah.
So,
Do you have
but it,
music books that you've written?
not really. No, I figure they're all written already. I could.
That's so
Somebody
humble
asked me
of
to do.
you. It's
What?
humble of you, I think.
Uh, well, yes. Yeah. But I think there are too many on the market really right now. But everybody's taking it because they can do it themselves. That's the thing. Everybody's doing a record because they can do it themselves in their living room. So or do it with samples and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it yeah. So I have not done anything of my own with just samples. Hear a tune here and there, but that's all. And mock-ups for other people to hear.
yeah.
So I remember one time with Sylvia. I hope she doesn't mind me telling this. She wanted me to do an arrangement of Midnight Sun. Da ba da 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 do do da 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 da. And I said, okay, I'll be glad to do it, but I want to do it in an individual way. But let me figure out something. So I took a couple of weeks and I started thinking about it. And so I said, why don't I do it as a mambo? Like a real Cuban
Nice. Yeah.
flavor with nothing on one. So I said, well, I kind of got to sell her on the idea. So I played her some mambo records and she said, well, it's kind of extreme. I don't know if we could do that. And she said, I spent time in Miami and I know that, but it's just, I said, well, I'll water it down a little bit because the gringos are going to play it, so it won't be quite that much. So, and I did. I made a mambo record out of it, mambo on that tune. And so she came over and heard the demo I did for her, and she said, "That's it. I love it. I love it. Great, yeah, wonderful." So after she left, and she called me when she got home. She says, "About the arrangement you did," she said, "I can't use it." I said, "Why not?" She said, "My husband doesn't like it." I said, "Why doesn't he?" He says that's a song about Scandinavian country, Midnight Sun, and you can't do that with a mambo. That's done. I said, "Sylvia, you'll be the only one in the world that has that. Think of that." Didn't quite sell her on it. I said, at first I refused. I said, "I'm not going to do anything about it. I've done it. You liked it. You passed on it." So then I said, "Okay, well, I'll change it a little." So I did it. I took it to a bossa nova anyway. So
It works beautifully as a bossa, actually.
yeah, and she likes it that way. And
Yeah,
I think he did too. So, and
yeah,
he's a good guy. It's not that I'm
yeah.
down on him, but it's just you gotta you never know what you're gonna
I'd
get.
love to hear that arrangement of the a mambo though, 'cause that sounds really interesting because that song is so fluid.
Yeah,
The melody and to have it juxtaposed to a
right.
mambo would be
Yeah,
really interesting.
and I stretched it way out so it was like twice as long.
Right, right. Yeah, I used to sing that as bossa nova at my jam session. And
Oh,
that was like, the musicians were always like, oh my God, because it's stretched out and that means the solo is really long if you're
yeah,
playing through the whole song.
right, sure. Yeah, that's
But,
great. Well, it turned out that the recording session was because she called that album The Arrangers, and she had a lot of us in on
oh
it.
yeah, yeah,
And one of them was Atmaro Ruiz,
Yeah.
And he had a whole, Spanish or Hispanic rhythm section. So I wish we had done the mambo. And they did the bossa real well, and
Yeah.
but it would have been great for them to play, because I wasn't versed too much on who to get to play the mambo stuff that I know.
Yeah.
But those guys did great.
Yeah. It was probably Jimmy Brownlee and
Uh-huh.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a really good record, actually. I have that record.
The Rangers.
Yeah, beautiful
Yeah.
record. She did a great job on that.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a success. So she bases it on how many she sells, but that's up to her.
I really don't do that anymore. The only reason I don't get rid of my CDs, which take up a lot of space in my garage, is because when I go to Japan, I do sell whatever 50 to 75 CDs per trip, and that actually, pads
Yeah.
the income.
Sure.
That's really the only reason I don't get rid of them, to tell you the truth. Otherwise, it'd just be, especially right now when I feel like cleaning out everything.
Yeah. Well, do you have vinyl too?
No, I never
No?
got it. I never, I was a little too
Too late?
early and too late. I don't know. Anyway, I never did that. I mean, I could see maybe possibly doing it in the future, or even doing it with a few projects that might be really nice to put on vinyl. But
Well, I'm just like you with the CDs. I can't get rid of the vinyl because they mean so much to me, and yet I hardly ever play them,
your vinyl. Oh, I'm
Well,
talking about my own CDs though. So
Well, I see what you're saying. I was talking about other people's vinyl, but I have a lot of those. But I had my first two albums were on vinyl that I did, but I later made them into CDs.
yeah, right.
So,
Well, my husband, you've been to my house. My husband
Yeah.
has a big record collection, but most of his are rock and blues.
Oh, yeah.
And but he's got 10,000, and then he has 5,045s. So
oh, wow.
yeah,
And you still talk together, huh?
yeah. And sometimes when I get on my Gazelle, if I get on my Gazelle in the morning, I'll pull out a record, because you really have to take the time to sit down and take out the record and be there, so that
Yeah.
nothing weird happens with the turntable and the record. But one of the last ones that I heard, which he found for me in some garage sale or something, it was a sealed copy of Nils Klein and Eric Von Essen.
Oh, wow. I bet that was great.
Very pretty, beautiful record. Yeah.
That's great. Oh, that's beautiful. Well,
And
we'll
one
see.
time before, I'll show you this. I bet you don't know this person. The only reason I have this here is because I was going to show Tony Guerrero, and Tony Guerrero's into old records like this.
Oh, yeah.
So this is,
Tony
sorry,
Harper.
Tony Harper. Now this record, first of all, I had never heard of Tony Harper. She's a fabulous singer. She was, how old was she when she sang this? I think she was 21, but she's like a mature, great singer.
Wow.
Johnny Green wrote the liner notes, and this record came out of a UCLA class that hold on. Hal Levy was teaching at UCLA for songwriting. So this record is all his students' songs, and Tony was in his class, and she was the singer. And Tony had a career that was very short. She was on some kind of big show when she was 8, and then she was on the Ed Sullivan show at 10, and then I guess she got a lot of experience in between, and then she retired when she was like 29.
I hope she had enough money.
But so that's the kind of stuff, it's just like totally cool.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. That's great.
Yeah. I have to show that to Tony Guerrero. He
Yeah.
likes those, kind of rare looking old albums that are kind of classic,
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Are you familiar with names, man? What's Paul? man and wife team.
You mean Jonathan and Darlene?
Yeah,
Edwards?
Jonathan and Darlene Edwards. You're familiar with those? Yeah, those
Yeah.
are great.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
and that was Paul White. No,
Paul Weston,
Paul Weston and
Joe Stafford.
Joe Stafford. I know those
That's
names
Tim
very
Weston's parents, you know.
well. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, I never associated it. I'll be darned. Well, that was great. I never got to know him. I wish I had, because he was such a great talent. He was. I listened to quite a bit of that when I was a kid, of his music, and then when I was in college, their music came out with the two of them.
Yeah.
And I knew about Joe Stafford, but I love the first album with two left hands on it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
Now-
it's totally funny. And some of my favorites are April in Paris.
Yeah. Mhm.
Hey, April. And then, like a Bee Gees tune they did, Staying Alive.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Oh my
That was
God.
great. Well, now my first wife, and I've been married 3 times, by the way.
Have you?
Number 3. I introduced her
number-
as my last
Number
wife.
3, yeah, she really lasted the longest, probably, right?
Yeah, that's right. 31 years so far.
Oh,
And but my first wife was somebody I met in college, and we had a 3-year marriage. But and she went with me into this, with the service when I was there. But anyway, she was a singer. She was an opera singer mainly,
mhm.
and but mainly classical. And so she knew about singing. And I said, "You got to hear this record, the Jonathan and Darlene Edwards record. This is a hoot. It's really great." And so I played it for her. She didn't get it.
I've played it for people like that
Yeah.
too.
And she says, "I don't think that's so good." So wait a minute. So I'll tell you. And I thought she was a singer. She would certainly get what they were doing. No idea. Maybe I pitched it too much.
No, I've played it for people like that too, and that's why I hesitate to play it on this because somebody's going to come on and go, "What?" Like,
Yeah,
what the
are you
hell are
serious?
she playing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
there
know
was
one-
a guy at Berkeley when I went to Berkeley. I don't know if you ever heard of him, because he was an East Coast guy, Tony Texiera, and he was the writer for Double Your Pleasure, Double Your
yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
And he used to do that. He used to sit down at the piano and just screw everything up. And it was hard to even realize, like, how the hell do you do that,
Yeah, I know. Did you see the video that they did of the Star Spangled Banner when somebody was singing it at a Trump rally? And they were way off key, and they kept changing keys, and it was just a cappella. But it was terrible, and they were just So somebody put chords to it all, and figured out where it went in certain spots.
Oh.
And it was on a player piano looking thing, and it was just great. And then there was a version of it that said, "And now she's going to go to C sharp," which is a third away, and so forth. So it was just great. If you haven't
I
seen
want to
it, you
see
should.
that one. That
Yeah.
is hysterical.
Yeah. Star Spangled Banner.
I'll just say Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah.
Star Spangled
I
Banner.
haven't seen it since it happened, but that was
Oh my God.
4 years
By the
ago.
way,
That was
Sunny Wilkinson is here, and she says, "Hi guys, 3 times
Oh.
is a charm."
great. Sunny. Yeah.
And John is reminding us too that he said love their version of "Don't Get Around Much."
Oh,
Yeah, that was a funny one too. Oh my God! But you know what I found? I can't listen to more than 3 at the most
Yeah.
because it's really
that.
disturbing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I know. Well, one of the tunes I keep remembering was "It's Magic."
Oh yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. And somebody, I don't know whether it was on the album or on a review, he says, "She does It's Magic, and it's tragic." So anyway,
Oh God.
Hey,
I'm sure-
this has been a lot of
probably
fun.
heard it all.
yeah,
You're not going, are you?
could. I've got things I need to do tonight. One of the things I've been doing, and this is one of the things I'm going to be involved in tonight, as I do every week, is I do music for my church, and because it's all online services now, And so I produce music for the church, and they have a Wednesday night service and a Sunday morning service. I don't play on many of them, some of them, but the soloists and the keyboard player, they pre-record all the stuff, and then I get it and put it with videos. Put like the hymnal. If we do it from a hymn, I show the hymnal words going, and pan with it and everything like that. And and then a greeting on the prelude and a greeting on the postlude, stuff like that. So I do that every week, and because I'm a music chairman of the church, so that's one thing I'll be doing for tomorrow night.
Oh, that's so cool.
The only trouble is where I am here in Wisconsin, I have terrible internet at my place, so I have to go to in town or someplace to send all that. To upload it.
Yeah, but you can create it at home, right? And then you just bring
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. But also, we were going to mention your radio show.
Oh yeah, that's right. While I'm here, and this has happened many years now, I do a radio show or host one and be a guest host of a jazz radio show on Sunday, and it's 1 o'clock Sunday. That's Central Daylight Time, and so it'd be in LA. It would be 11 o'clock, and it's 3 hours, and I do all kinds of stuff that I have on the computer or I get or CDs. And it's kind of interesting, kind of fun to do that. I like to share the music, and I know about the information about what I'm playing.
Yeah,
there are not too many jazz musicians up here in Wisconsin. A
Yeah.
lot of polka players, but, and so I do know what I'm talking about. Although there aren't a lot of fans either, but there's a few people that like it. I try not to talk too much. I just talk.
yeah. You play a lot more.
I pre-announce and I post-announce everything, and that's what nobody else seems to do.
Yeah. Dave Tull is reminding me of something. He said, "Let's hear some Billy Mintz stories."
Oh, Billy Mintz. He was a drummer in my band for quite a few years. The one I had with Clay, and we've gone on to others since then. But Billy was a character. And I remember one time he was playing in my big band, and I was getting ready to do the album, and I wanted an Elvin Jones thing, and that's what he does best. He just can play that kind of thing. So we did this one tune, and I wrote that for, and he just went on his drums and went, not Elvin Jones, And so I said, "Oh, okay, let's start again. Elvin, McCoy, let's go. Start again." I said, "Billy, this is supposed to be Elvin." He says, "If you tell me what you want, I'm not going to do it. Just let me do what I want to do." So I had him in the band a few more years, or a few more months, I guess it was, and I used to tell him the opposite of what I wanted, and I would get what I wanted, But he finally caught on, and he wouldn't do it. So he wouldn't cooperate. He wanted to be his own person.
Funny, man.
Yeah.
He's so unique. You know what I remember? We must have talked about this, but for some reason, your house in Sherman Oaks hosted the jazz singers of LA. A number of us. And Peggy Lore had something to do with it, and that tall, gorgeous other person who was a friend of Peggy's, whose name I can't remember. Anyway, so we had this hang, and we had food. I don't know why we did it at your house, but anyway.
I don't either. You're welcome, but I don't know what it was.
Great, and then we hung out. We had a great time, telling all kinds of funny singer horror stories and stuff. but in the beginning, when we were just there was like a little buffet, as like food was out, and Billy Mintz was staying at your house.
Yes.
And he dressed up in drag. And he came down and he was hanging around, and nobody except me, for some reason, knew that it was Billy.
Yeah.
And he,
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one funny Billy
those
thing.
years, that's just after I met Chris, and she was from here in Wisconsin, and so I'd go away with her for most of the summer. The time I met her, I was away for 3 months. And
Oh,
so I got Billy to house sit for me, because he was living in his car or someplace, I don't know, or an apartment. I don't. So yeah, he's house sat for me for 2 years in the summer, just in the summer, and when I was away, and got in the mail and did stuff and took care of the house. Did a pretty good job. But then on the second time, when I came home, he says, "Well, I had to give up my apartment. I don't have any place to stay." I said, "Well, we got a guest room. You can stay in it." "Well, fine. It's just off the kitchen. Used to be a maid's room. It had a bathroom there and so forth." So he stayed in there, and he never wanted to leave. He didn't leave he was there for almost a year. And I said, "Billy, you might think about finding a place of your own." My wife was getting disgusted with it. And he said, "Oh, I'll put out the vibe, man." "Yeah, okay, I'll put out the vibe." But what he had done is he didn't want any light to come into the room. So what he did was he taped up all the windows and the door, around the door and everything, so no light could get in. I don't know why. But when he did leave, we ripped all this stuff off, and all the wallpaper and stuff came off, or the paint and whatever it was. So he went back in there and he painted it. So it was okay. But I remember that.
remember he used to have this group. I was talking about this with somebody, but he used to have this group that he would invite mostly a lot of bass players, but like any bass player who wanted to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was somewhere like, I don't know if it was San Diego, but it was down south. And his charts were like a little piece of paper with 10 different things on it, like play as fast as you can and B. That was
right.
one. And then he'd just yell out a number.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I remember that. I was on that. And
You were?
I only remember one concert. I don't know whether they did more than one. But yeah, I was. That was in San Diego. I don't remember the place. It was a restaurant or something. We kind of took over the place, and it was like 5 or 10 bass players, and then quite a few of other instruments, miscellaneous. I don't think we had a piano or a guitar or anything, but all horns and bass players, and drummer. And there was a couple other drummers too. Mainly it was him. Yeah, and he turned that into a band that was a regular band called the Two Bass Band, and he used 2 basses from that. And he played drums, like I say, no piano and guitar, and it had 2 of everything: 2 trumpets, 2 trombones, 2 saxophones, and 2 basses. And that was the band. And we used to play at the Union, and I don't think we ever did a record. We tried to do some recordings or something, but we rehearsed at the rehearsal room in the Union, and I'd say, how you want us to set up, Billy? He says, "Set up anywhere you want to sit, but just don't sit next to the guy that you usually play with." So, in other words, sit with somebody different every time. That was a hoot too, And we used to do that once a week, for quite a couple of years.
How did it work?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, some things worked, some things didn't. And he wrote for that. He had to have somebody else put in harmonies and stuff like that, but he write the concept for it. And I wrote quite a few things for that. A lot of my stuff wouldn't work, but some of it would. And Mike Fawn was on that, and Clay Jenkins. I forget who else. Trombone. Bruce Fowler was on that.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway, it was pretty good. It made up a really good guys, and it was all the blowing was free. There was no chord changes hardly ever to go by. So it was interesting. Yeah, you have a good memory. You remember all those things. It's great.
Yeah, I know. Well, there are certain things that whatever struck me, along the way, because you don't remember everything, of course, and but there are things things that stand out.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Who was when you were coming up, who was a mentor?
Well, my muse, M-U-S-E, has always been since the service. I discovered for myself a guy named Charlie Mariano.
Oh yeah.
And he was my model since then. I mean, he's my inspiration. He is an alto player, and he was married to Toshiko Akiyoshi.
I didn't know that.
Pianist. Yes, at one point, it didn't last too long, but I think he met her when he was over there in the service, Tokyo or something. So anyway, they were married and they had a quartet. And I had heard of Charlie Mariano before on the kind of the West Coast scene. He had been with Stan Kenton at one point. This was when I was in the service and I was in my 20s. And then I heard this quartet thing and I said, wow, who is this guy? Sounded completely different to me than I found out. And he has such passion in his playing. Like I was using that word before, just passion. And he plays with such heartfelt, meaning. And he can bring me to tears on a cadenza,
Yeah.
He just is something else. I can't really explain it. He doesn't have the greatest time, and court and stuff like that. And he doesn't have the greatest ideas. I love them all, but the passion he puts into everything. So he has been my inspiration. I got to meet him one time. He was over here on one of Ken Poston's Jazz Institute things, and I had him over for dinner and stuff, and we got
cool.
acquainted and stuff like that. Yeah, but he lived in Germany for the last 20 or 30 years of his life, and he passed away, I guess, about 8 years ago, something like that. But
He
I
was in
gathered
Boston when I was at Berkeley, actually. He was at Berkeley.
he taught at Boston, and he was always up to mischief. I know, like throwing a piano out of the fourth floor to see how it would sound when it hit the ground. I heard he did that once. But
Wow.
he was, what was I going to tell you about him? I know. I tried to buy everything he was on. I still don't have all of it, but I have most of it. And I ordered at one point, just to make a point of this, at one point I ordered 2 CDs that I hadn't known about, and they were released in Japan only. And so I got to order them, and it took a month or so to get there. And then I didn't notice until later that one of them cost $35 for the CD. That's kind of expensive for a CD.
Yeah.
And usually it's about $15 or $20. And it was with a group he used to play with from India, with sitar and tablas and stuff like that. And he liked that kind of music, so he played a thing called the Nazaswaram, which is another instrument, Indonesian instrument. Well, he was playing alto on all this, but he had the Indian accompaniment group. And I was thinking, I didn't realize it was with that group. I really don't want to hear that right now. So I let it sit there for a couple of weeks, and then finally I put it on in the car, and I started to drive out of our garage and to wherever I was going. And he started off with a cadenza, and I had to pull over. I said, man, the tears were streaming down my face.
My God.
That's the best $35 I've ever spent. It just got to me, and it just, that passion and warmth and so forth. So he's always been my guiding light. I haven't succeeded to play like that, imitate him as much. I mean, some people that know Charlie's playing say, I heard some Charlie in there. I said, well, yeah, because I'm influenced by a lot of other people. I mean, Cannonball, Sonny Stitt, quite a few people, and I think that's a good thing. But he has been my guiding light. As far as a mentor in town, I had a guy that kind of took me under his wing when I first got there. His name was Don Specht, Specht, and he was a jingle writer. And he took me in to kind of learn jingle writing a little bit. I was kind of his assistant. And I wasn't his copyist or anything, but I would do, a lot of times when he would do a commercial, he'd have me do a cover for that. In other words, if they didn't like his, maybe they'd like mine. They had something else to offer. So they rarely used mine, but sometimes. And so I got to know the music business and the recording at that time. That was in the late 60s and early 70s. So he's not with us anymore, but he kind of was a mentor of mine. And then I was with Louis Belson's band, and he helped me. I was in Claire Fisher's band for a while.
Yeah.
And all those people that I went to a job to listen to a band at Dante's once. Remember Dante's?
I was a waitress there
You were a waitress? I didn't know that.
for a year and a half.
Wow. Well, a lot of people that are looking at this won't know what that is, but that was a premier jazz club in LA for a long, long time. And everybody went there. In fact, Johnny Carson would go there, and he would have his corner table, and we'd see him there. But anyway, Mike Barone's band played there every Wednesday night, as I remember. And I liked the band. It was a good band. I played in it since, but I wanted to submit something to the band to play because I liked the band and so forth. So I wrote something, and I took it to Mike and I said, "Would you play this sometime, at least in rehearsal?" He says, looked at it, he says, "No, we're not going to play that." I said, "Well, how come?" He says, "It's not copied good enough." I said, "And I copied it." I said, "Well, I'm not really a copyist." He says, "Well, you better learn to be one if you want to get anywhere." He says, I tell you what I'll do. I'll introduce you to my copyist, Bill Hughes." And so I said, "Oh, that'd be great." So Bill Hughes took me, I went down to his office and he showed me all those things that he uses, the straight edges and stuff like that at the time, and certain kind of pens and certain kind of ink and all this stuff, India ink. And so I became a copyist, actually. And for the first 3 or 4 years of my being in LA, I did a lot of copying. I wasn't regular on staff, but I did a lot of overflow copying.
Yeah.
And I got to be a pretty good copyist, and I wasn't real fast, but I was very accurate, and I knew the music that I was copying pretty well. So that was a distinctive thing. So those two guys kind of helped me out. And of course, now all that's gone to pot because we use the computer for everything. I have a terrible hand now. So, true confessions.
That was one of the things I liked. That's one of the things I treasured about being at Berkeley when I was young, was actually writing arrangements and writing stuff.
Yeah.
It feels it feels good to do that,
Good.
you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Very different than Sibelius or something like that. I mean, Sibelius is good for certain things, but I still really like doing stuff by hand. It feels good.
Calligraphy. Yeah, calligraphy.
Yeah.
It's a lost art almost, so it's great. That's good that you do. Well, I'm using a program called Dorico now.
Oh.
And I still know, I use Finale and I use Sibelius, but Dorico is the newest thing I think that I know about. And I started learning it. It was hard for me to switch to any of them. I started with Finale, and some of my students, I was teaching at USC, and some of my students were using Sibelius. So I think, well, I guess I better learn to do Sibelius because I can't really, tell them about how to do this and that on it. So I started learning Sibelius, and it's just the opposite of Finale as far as entering music.
Oh.
But the creative team in London, with the customer relations person, was so nice to me, and through email, and he helped me out continually. I mean, nobody does that on with computer programs.
Yeah.
So he was just so nice to me, and so I became a very seasoned Sibelius writer, but still use Finale. So anyway, what happened with that is that after they were kind of in the forefront of things, Avid bought the Sibelius.
Yeah.
And then they fired their creative team, which was these guys that helped me.
Yeah. There was a period where Avid, I don't know still, but they really just dropped out of communication. Mm-hmm. That was not good.
So the creative team went over to Steinberg, and they worked on a whole different system, which is Dorico. They've come out with Dorico now the last 3 years. And it's the same people, and they're still helping me just as much because I'm kind of a dummy when it comes to that. Yeah. So I'm still dealing with the same people. I just follow them around.
How interesting. Yeah, I have to check that out. I mean,
It's a learning curve. It's a learning curve for that too. But I think in the long run, I think it's going to be the one. And that's what they say. And I think so because it's got some, you don't have to know anything, any code or anything, but it's got some really helpful speed suggestions on how to write things out. It really helps. So
that's cool.
I recommend it, but not if somebody already knows Finale or Sibelius and they're into it. I don't recommend that they change. Yeah. But if they're looking for something new, that's good.
For me, I mean, I had an old version of Sibelius, and then I got some kind of an update on my computer, and the old version wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So I had to upgrade, and then there was a learning curve because some of it is just doesn't flow. It's not really like how I think it should be. And then I discovered that Mac and Sibelius have a little, well, not Mac, but this, the wireless connection does some weird crap.
Oh.
It stutters, and you pick something and like leaves,
Oh gosh, yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Mhm.
anyway,
So
but
are you using anything now?
Sibelius.
Oh, okay, you still are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
thought maybe you were going back to calligraphy.
Well, I always do that a little bit,
Sure. Yeah.
but I'm not writing charts like you are. So, but so what I needed for mostly is lead sheets for myself.
Well,
So
I still use a pencil and paper. I do that for sketches on almost everything I do.
yeah,
I do it on a sketch in pencil and paper, and then I put it over into Finale or Dorico or Sibelius.
yeah. I've heard that before.
Now, Bob Mintzer said that he used to do that too, and then at one point, he was on a flight to Indonesia or someplace. It was a nonstop, but he had to have an arrangement done by the time he got there. He was in flight, starting it, and he said he didn't have anything but a computer, and he just used the computer. He says, "He's never looked backwards since. He got it done, and he never has gone back to pencil and paper."
Oh wow,
Yeah, so he just does that. So I don't know how he does it, but he does it.
his arrangements are pretty good.
They're very good. They're very good. Very good.
Yeah, he's no slouch.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Kim, for being on and spending 2 hours, and I really appreciate it. I love you a lot, and
My pleasure.
you're a
Always loved
quality
you,
human being,
and I love your CDs. That one you did with Josh
Larry.
and Larry was just great. I just
Oh,
love
thank
that,
you.
and I
Thanks.
just I'm a big fan of that. That combination really worked, and all
That
of
was
your
nice.
combinations work. So
Thank you.
good.
Yeah, please send my love to Chris.
I will.
And what else do I want? Oh, Dave Mackay passed away a
Oh, I
week.
didn't know that.
Yeah. So this Sunday, I'm going to create an event, a Zoom and a Facebook event at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
So if you're around,
Yeah.
join in.
Good. That'd be 5 o'clock my time. I'll make a point of that. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Send me an invitation.
Yeah. And then for you guys listening, just the rest of the week is going to be Corey Allen is coming on, and tomorrow and Thursday I have my day off. Friday I have Kate McGarry, Shauna Tucker, and Lenora Helms, three
Wow.
singers.
Yeah.
And of course, Shauna is also a great cellist. She's wonderful. And then Michael Abene actually is going to be on Saturday.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And Sunday, a great standard singer, Becky Kilgore, and her partner in crime, Tom Wakeling on bass.
Oh yeah, I know Tom too.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So thank
Got a
you.
good lineup.
Yeah, it's fun. It's all great.
Terrific. Well, you're doing a great job, and I always appreciate being on your mailing list and knowing what you're up to, and it's great.
Thanks.
Absolutely
Vice versa.
Yeah. So we'll have to keep in touch, even though we can't touch. We'll
Okay.
have to do that. So that'd be good. Yeah. All right. Well, take care of yourself, and I'll listen to my radio show if you have a chance to. That's 11 o'clock Pacific time.
Yeah.
And it's wxpr.org.
WXPR. I'll write that down.
Yeah.
Actually, right now in the comments.
And I'll be sending that to my mailing list anyway, but it's yeah.
On Sundays,
Sunday at 11 o'clock Pacific time. It's a 3-hour show.
11 Pacific Standard Time, and it's a 3-hour show.
Yes.
3-hour show. Whoops, 3 hour. It's an hour.
11 to 2. Yeah.
3-hour show where Kim plays, right?
It's a jazz. It's a jazz show, Sunday jazz show. So that's what they call it. So I'll see you then.
Okay, good. I just put it out there.
Great. Very
Okay,
good.
thanks, Kim.
Thanks a lot. Okay, we'll see you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.